Let's unbox the Funko Pop vinyl Ahsoka Tano in Delta 7 Jedi Starfighter.
Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it.
Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. I really am a big fan of the larger scale Funko Pop vinyl figures like the starships and the scenes, but sadly I can't afford to add quite as many to my collection as I wish because they are quite a bit more expensive than a standard Funko, even if there is only one character like this one. Here in New Zealand, this particular Starfighter Funko featuring Ahsoka retailed for $64. I picked it up just last week for $9. My patience paid off and I'm so happy to add this very large Funko to my collection for such a steal, an absolute bargain price. So I'm really excited. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll take a closer look at the Ahsoka Funko and her starship out of the packaging, and we'll check out all of the cool details. But first, let's take one last look at the box. The larger Funko Pop vinyl figures do tend to come with these wide wrap-around windows like we can see here, which does mean that these do tend to be a little bit more easily damaged than the other standard ones, which have cardboard corners. I was really worried because I bought this one online and on clearance it was going to be one of those beaters that's been kicked around and damaged at the store, but as you can see it looks pretty nice, which is always a nice surprise. This one is a special edition Funko, as we can see from the silver foil sticker here. I just have the Obi-Wan Kenobi one here because I just wanted to point out that other Star Wars starships in this particular line also include the Hyperspace Heroes sticker, which we can see right next to the special edition sticker on the Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi Starfighter. I am not sure if this particular sticker is just simply missing from my Ahsoka version, or at some point they just stopped putting these stickers on the Starfighter line, but I just wanted to point that out, that some of the others in this line do feature that sticker. Just while I've got the two of them here, you can see that these are very similar in their packaging styles, and I am expecting the internal Starfighter to be pretty much the same mold as well. But let's just pop Obi-Wan off to the side so we can take a closer look at the Ahsoka packaging. I do really like the large windows. It works well if you do like to keep your Funko Pop vinyl figures in their boxes without taking them out. For me personally though, I feel like there is just a little too much space around this. Standard Funkos always fit really nicely in those uniform boxes, but once we get into the deluxe and larger scale, sometimes I find the smaller figures sometimes have a little bit too much space around them. I appreciate wanting to have a little bit of protection so that things don't get crushed because of these larger windows, but sometimes it just feels like it's taking up too much space on my shelf, particularly since there is only one character in this particular one. So I'm really keen to get it out. I think it's going to look so much better, particularly because this one is more of a clamshell with two sides. The whole Starfighter is covered in both the external plastic and the inner plastic, so it's a little hard to see the details through the front there. We've got a very long name for this one. A lot of Ahsoka Funko Pops list her name as just Ahsoka. This one uses her full name, Ahsoka Tano in Delta 7 Jedi Starfighter. A little bit of a mouthful there. This is number 638. We've got that lovely window there so we can see down at the pop from the side. We've got the name and number here, and we've got a little bit of a plainer background for this one. We've got a little insert picture of the Funko in her Jedi Starfighter with a little bit of a hyperspace background. We have the Funko name there and the number, and just a lot of a black around it. I kind of wish this was like a standard Funko box where we can see some of the other items in the range, like that Obi-Wan Kenobi. There was also a Hera and X-Wing that I have. It would have just been fun to see a few of those others there. It just looks a little bit blank with so much black there. Some standard Funko copyright stuff and barcode on the underside. And on this side, we've got a little bit of another insert picture of Ahsoka in her Jedi Starfighter with the window there. And on the top, pretty much the same again, that insert picture and a window looking down. I do like the top windows. It gives a bit of light so these boxes don't look too dark if you want to put them on your shelf, but it does mean that if you are stacking them or putting anything on the top, it can sort of press down and create a bit of a bend. Doesn't make them quite as strong as, say, as if that was solid cardboard, but I try not to stack my Funkos. I get very anxious, particularly about these edges here. I feel like they're not as strong as the cardboard ones, so I don't like to stack these. Standard Funkos generally can permit, being stacked a couple of them high because we've got that nice strong cardboard structure. But enough of just looking at the box. Let's get Ahsoka out so we can take a closer look at all of her cool details. Personally, I like to open my Funko boxes from the underside, so if any of the flaps get a little bit creased, it's hidden so that I can still put the boxes on display because I do think they look nice. So, stiff cardboard there. Okay, so now we've got this double tray. Let's get this out. Okay, and we have a fun sort of hyperspace backing card there as well, which is kind of fun if you want to put it on display behind your figure. Just going to get that box out of the way so we can get this plastic undone. Okay, there we go. Nice to get her out. Okay, so let's get this plastic out of the way as well. Wow, she looks really cool. This is really quite a glossy finish. This is really fun. Okay, let's get this plastic out of the way so we can take a proper look at her. So now I finally have Ahsoka in her Delta 7 Jedi Starfighter out of the packaging. And yes, personally for me, I much preferred this way. I can see all of the details all from a full 360 angle, and there is lots to take a look at. So first things first, I thought it was really interesting just how glossy this plastic is. I'm kind of used to the slightly sort of matte finish of Funko figures. This plastic here is very glossy, and it feels like, looking at the details, that this starship is made out of this sort of maroon dark red plastic with these paler bits applied with paint, because we can kind of see here there are some little bits where it's a little bit less tidy there. So I did pick this one up on clearance, but I also know that I could have just as easily have paid full price to this. I know that not every Funko is painted perfectly. That is something that I have come to very much expect with Funko, that we will have some small paint flaws here and there. We can see particularly here, it just doesn't look quite as tidy as it does in some areas. On the whole, it's not like a really bad flaw, but it is a little bit of a shame. On the whole, we can see that if we hold this one up, Ahsoka has sort of the classic Jedi Order symbol. We can sort of see the wings coming up here, and that sort of lightsaber part of the symbol sort of painted on her Jedi Starfighter. So it looks like the Jedi symbol when we hold it up like that, which I think is really quite fun. I like seeing the Jedi Order symbol featured on products, even if it is a little bit cryptic there. We have the Galactic Republic symbol here on the back. This looks very tidy. I think this is more like a decal that is applied, or a digital print. It's very, very tidy. I like to see that. And we also have the symbol here on the wing as well. Yellow paint is quite striking. It looks quite tidy. We've got a little bit of an echo where we can see that it kind of has that slight airbrush edge to it. And we can see that the painting of the Jedi Order symbol looks a little bit more tidier on this side. We've got some nice crisp edges here. We've got a few scratches here on the top, but again, this is a Starfighter. I can kind of wave those off and assume it's just sort of a battle damage. We've got some grey accent here on the side, and if we just look on the underside, we've got some more Galactic Republic symbols, as well as that kind of Jedi symbol kind of coming in there at the bottom as well. I like the silver engines at the back, not too complicated in terms of the paint job. We've just got the sort of the cream beige color running across the back, a little bit of stripes there on the underside. But of course, the highlight of this one is Ahsoka herself, as well, with her green and white little astromech dome. I think it looks really cute. Ahsoka here is from the early seasons of the Clone Wars, where she has her sort of strapless top. She is depicted as being quite young here. I think it's interesting that we don't have her in a slightly older version, but she fits in there quite nicely. I am expecting this to be a fairly standard Ahsoka sculpt. Her face and sort of details change a little bit. Her Togruta Montrol get a little bit longer, but when we shrink that down into the very stylized Funko form, it generally kind of ends up looking the same. I really like the gold details of her headdress around her face. Very nice paintwork there. And of course, I do pay particular attention to the white tattoos on her face. I think it really throws things off if there is a paint flaw on the face of a Funko figure. On the whole, this one looks very tidy. She's got very tidy little eyelashes. The white painting looks very nice. I think there is just a very small, it almost looks like a wet little smudge down here. Very faint. And of course, if I'm going to pose her facing this way, I will never see it while it's on display. It's very faint, so it's not too bad. It is a little bit of a shame because it is on the face, and that's generally where it's kind of a deal breaker space for me if something's wrong with the face. Of course, Ahsoka has these gold beads running down the back of her head tails here. They look fairly tidily painted running down there. We've got a little bit where the gold paint has kind of skipped a section here. And her stripes do look very tidy as well. I think they are applied with sort of like a sticker or decal because we can kind of see where they overlap here. Or perhaps just the way that they spray on the paint or use brush strokes. We get these sections where they overlap, and sometimes they overlap very tidily where we can barely see it. And here it unfortunately kind of overlaps in a slightly different angle, but on the whole, that's on the back. From the front, she does look very tidy. And the ones on this side are a little bit better. We haven't got that sort of awkward overlap here. And the points do look well painted as well. And at the back, we've got a little bit of a smudge here of the gold paint. A little bit visible there being on the white. And we've got a little bit of the coloring of her tunic and armbands is on her upper arm there as well. So there is a few paint flaws if we really look up close, which I'm kind of always expecting. And considering the price I paid for this one, I'm not too mad, but I do wish that Funko was a little bit tidier with their paint apps on the whole, but it is something I've come to expect. And personally, I think that some of these paint flaws is why fans like myself don't buy these at full price. I know that I certainly saw quite a few of these larger Star Wars starships sitting around waiting for them to come on sale, just because you know that we've got some paint flaws and sort of irregularities with the paint app. Overall, I think she looks really cute. I do like the Star Wars starships. They're so iconic. You know, Star Wars starships are such an important part. I love the classic Episode 2 era Delta 7 Jedi Starfighter. I think it's so awesome. I want more of them in my collection. So of course I'm drawn to this Funko version. And overall, I think Ahsoka's has some really interesting paint jobs, particularly with that Jedi Order symbol that I really, really like. The astromech in question does look pretty cute. He is largely white, so I was a little bit worried about the paint apps there, but he actually looks pretty tidy with those green panels and a cute little blue eye. And we've even got some tiny little blue dots to accent some of the other features there. The little astromech dome doesn't turn or move. As you can see, Ahsoka is a bobblehead, so she is bobbling around in there. But you might be able to see she kind of stops at just past her belts. There is just a sort of black flat level where it just kind of looks like she's sitting in a sort of like a black little pool. There is no sort of sculpting of the legs going down, and you cannot remove her out of the Jedi Starfighter. She is just completely fixed in there. Her hands are posed like she's holding on to controls, but there is nothing sculpted there. Her hands are just sort of posed, holding out for the front. But again, this is very stylized. I wasn't really expecting them to put, you know, a controller or anything in there for her to be holding on to. Just, if you look really closely, it just kind of looks a little bit odd that there's nothing in there, but this is very stylized. I like the fact that it is raised up. We have 3 clear rods here, suspending it in a nice position. And I think it's really interesting that we have quite a different style of base compared to the standard Star Wars Funkos. Of course, Star Wars is one of those rarer Funko Pop vinyl lines that do include a base. They used to be removable, now they are fixed. And this one is very angular and doesn't have the ridges around the side. It is not circular, but we do still have the Star Wars logo printed on the nameplate here at the front. So I have one of my other standard Clone Wars Ahsoka Tano pop vinyl figures here, just to have a little bit of a comparison. We can see the difference there in the base style. We can see this sort of standard circular one with those ridges that they have used since those very early collections, and we have the silver logo Star Wars there. I think looking at this one, this is not silver. This looks like this is printed in white. I thought maybe it was just my eyes, but I think this is only painted in white. It's not silver, especially when I compare these two side by side. This one's kind of shiny. That one looks very flat, but it's interesting to see. They kind of look like a matching base, but they're certainly not the same style. I was expecting maybe that this one would have, I don't know why they didn't pick that same sort of ridged sides, or perhaps did this one on a larger circle base. It's kind of interesting that they went so angular for the starships. And looking at Ahsoka herself, this one is number 268 from the Clone Wars era, where she has changed to a different outfit, so slightly later in the Clone Wars compared to this version, but her head tails are very, very similar. And one thing that I actually like more about this one is the gold paint they have used for her headdress compared to this one. This one, it's almost a little bit of a muddy gold. It's very dark. It's not my favorite that they have used. The gold paint for this version feels much more like a shiny, proper gold. I do very much like this one much better than the original version. I think it just looks a little bit prettier, particularly because it is around her face. And I guess you can see on this one, I unfortunately do have a few paint flaws on this one as well. There is a scratch on her face, and her lightsabers are too close, and they have scratched the paint away from her head tail because of her bobble action there, which is a little bit of a shame. But overall, I think they look really fun together. One of the things that I'm always really noticing is, you know, with Ahsoka, she has strong colors. So when I put all of my Ahsoka Tano collectibles together, I want them to kind of look like they match. And she has strong orange and this kind of dark blue gray coloring for her head tail stripes. So if I put these ones side by side, you can see that the painting detail for the side is very different. We've got much more angular stripes on this one, and these are much softer. She is older here, so she does have slightly larger, more pronounced head tails. We can see that in the back especially. This one is short, this one is much longer, and we've got some more pronounced sort of points here with the painting detail. So I think that that's really fun. We don't have too many Funkos of that very early Clone Wars series. We tend to have more of her from this one, where she moves into her tunic dress rather than her strapless top. And then of course we have a lot of her from her live action appearances, where she looks very different again. But I'm very happy to see that when I put my Clone Wars Ahsoka Tano pop vinyl figures together like these two, they are going to look very well. The oranges match, the colors of her headdress match, and even the colors of her tunics look like a good fit. So I think these two look really cute together, and I'm so happy to finally add this one to my collection. I thought at that price point I really didn't want to miss out, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to spend $64 on a standard Funko. So I'm so excited that I was able to pick this one up for a mere $9. These ones in New Zealand, these ones generally retail for $27 to $29. So this one for $9 is an absolute steal. That was just such an exciting find. Absolutely made my day. And now I have her out of her box, and I can add her to my Ahsoka Tano Funko collection, and I think she looks adorable. All in all, a few paint flaws as I've come to expect, but overall I think she's adorable. I think she bobbles really well. This one kind of bobbles, but because she hits her lightsabers in the back, it's not really a feature. I think they look so cute together, and now I can add them to my ever-growing Funko Pop Vinyl Ahsoka collection. I have to note, I think Ahsoka is one Star Wars character where they have made an absolute loads of her in all different versions. I recently picked up the glitter version that is nearly identical to this one. It just has that awesome Diamond Collection glitter finish to it. I think it's kind of fun. She has really grown as a Star Wars character since we were first introduced to her in that Clone Wars movie. All of of those years ago. It's really fun to see how she has grown, and we have so many Funkos to collect. I definitely have to update my spreadsheet to include this one. Still got a few more to track down. So there you go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars Funko Pop vinyl collectible and had some fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Funko Star Wars fan, I've also unboxed the Harrison Dueler and X-Wing Starfighter. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as our whole Funko Pop vinyl unboxing playlist. This is the way.